Really need for
Voilà. Voilà.
Yes, it was. That's the reason. Nice to see you. Yes, very well. Oh, last night. Yeah, that's why I'm. Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Mrs. Spaniel. Yes, ma'am. What's up? Nothing much. I'm going. Now. Yes.
You sure? Huh? Ura. Ura. Na volno vrlo statno na ovaj svoj šta. Prekasta.
They have only one more meeting.
Yeah, I know. Well, they'll have an intro.
How are you?
They'll have an intro.
Are you food and please? Ile kanya yin seri ci wanda. No, na guce. Yes, good.
So you can throw the switch on, not recording yet.
It's running.
But I mean, it's not live. We'll start it.
I send this link to edit and maybe send back and send that in for that. Okay.
It's not O, should be E.
Okay.
If it's a girl, I'm gonna go steal that baby.
That's a major problem. Serious.
Okay, what the?
Serious.
I understand. No, I'm not even sure myself. It's not going to be distributed. It won't be distributed because they make a lot of no, not distributed. No. This is just for your eyes. It's not going nowhere. It's not going to because it's said it.
By the way, that's with a K.
That's why I said that. I said, look, it's not going to. We're just not going to do nothing.
And I'm actually third word comes from.
Yeah, just let. We're not going to distribute.
Is that the sheet?
No, we're not using because I didn't have.
Yeah,
they didn't send it back to me.
I can't do it. I really, serious.
No, we're not going to do
I'm
this.
serious.
No, we're not doing nothing. We're not going to distribute it. No, we're not distributing anything like that. We're not distributing. No.
I got for all. I don't know.
No, I think we're not distributing. Take my word. No, we're not going to distribute that. Just sit down.
Who's actually?
That's Dr. Blyden.
Howie. Yes.
Dr.
Elwin
Blyden.
Blyden. Elwin.
Jim Bess,
Dr. Blyden is a biologist.
biologist.
Yes. He's one of the people who did the original studies in Sierra Leone before the outbreak in 2007.
Really?
While I worked on the bird flu pandemic
Oh, wow.
event at that time, I was on the task force for that. So I now am based in New York, where I have a biotechnology company, and we're doing research to develop products for, among other things, Ebola.
Vaccinations.
Yeah, vaccinations, diagnostic reagents, therapeutic reagents. We're trying to organize some kind of a contribution to a research effort, an innovation effort to solve the problem. That includes actually, doing research in Sierra Leone, as well as doing research here and bringing together manufacturers who have products or processes that we can use to support the efforts.
A collective effort.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I don't know if you're really talking about that, but I know that's long term, but I'm sure people will be happy.
It is.
know there's
Well,
things
it's,
going on.
it's short, medium, and long term. I mean, there are immediate needs. That,
Well, I'm very interested. Is this the kind of thing that you'll be commenting on?
yes, I can say a few words about that.
All right. Great.
Good evening. We are calling the meeting to order, please. Mr. Nero.
Oh, good evening, all. As usual, Fode has put me in the mix, and oh, okay. We've done this before. We were here maybe a month ago, 6 weeks ago. The situation in Sierra Leone, as we all know, hasn't really improved. I think it's getting worse. So we're all here to find out more about what we can do, and we should be having a representative from the government of Sierra Leone to come and tell us what is happening on the ground so we can be more aware of exactly what is happening. As usual, Fode has rallied around and got quite a high-powered group of people here. And my duty here is really to introduce a few people, and I will actually start off by recognizing our Minister Plenipotentiary, Reverend Kanu. As usual, he's always here for us, and we're happy to have him here. My name is Melbourne Gaba, and I'm going to ask Ms. Fanta Kalon to say a few words. We have quite a few other people here, and of course, Councilman at large are here. So, Ms. Kalon.
Thank you, sir, Mr. Melbourne. Brothers and sisters, ladies and gentlemen, welcome here tonight. Councilman, we want to thank you again for giving us this opportunity to hold this press conference here. As we all know, we are here again today because we are still looking for answers to find out what is going on at home. The situation is not getting better, as our brother just said, and we're going to continue to search for answers until we find some. We started this press conference so late. We want to apologize. That's what I should have said first. But in any case, without any further delay, I'm going to hand the mic again to Mr. Melbourne Gaba so we can continue for tonight. Thank you.
Okay, I think, is Dr. Phil Kramer here? Oh, yes. Sorry, I remember.
Councilman Annabelle.
Yes, Councilman. You're supposed to be one of the moderators for this event as well. So I'll give you the mic so you can say a few
Thank you.
words.
Yes, I wear several hats, and Councilman Vasanella is also helping me moderate. People may be interested in what's going on locally as far as this, and we do, of course, have an ambulance service in town. Councilman Vasanella, myself, and Deputy Mayor Regan have been involved with helping get that organized, along with doctors from local hospitals and the ambulance services should anything happen here. We are not particularly worried about that, but we want to be absolutely ready for that. And their protocols have been put in place. People understand what they need to do, what equipment is needed. So I'm very happy with the response with that and the preparedness with that. There's more work to be done. Direction from CDC keeps changing every week, and we are responding to that. So our town is moving forward with that, and I'm gratified with what they're doing. Councilman Vasanella, do you have anything to say?
Yes, and Councilman Kramer and myself, along with Deputy Mayor Regan, are on the Emergency Services Committee. We also have an Emergency Management Council, a couple of groups that we're involved with, which are charged with being ready for anything that may happen along these lines. And as the councilman said, we've had a couple of meetings, or we've attended a few meetings. Staff and the emergency services, I'm sure, have had plenty of other meetings and communication. And where I would say, in general, 6 weeks ago, I would have been a little concerned. The information flow wasn't happening. Everybody wasn't necessarily on the same page. Information was slow in coming from federal government and getting on the same page with the state and the county. I can say now, at least it's my feeling, and I think the councilman had stated that we're ready. We're ready if the need arises that anybody needed to be transported or quarantined with the concern that they may have been exposed to or infected with Ebola. So we are as ready as you can be, and the information keeps coming. Like Councilman said, it keeps changing, but we have a process by which all of our emergency responders, volunteer and paid, are being kept up to date on the information. And we do have 3 wonderful hospitals very close to here, as everybody is probably aware of: St. Peter's, Robert Wood Johnson, and Somerset Medical Center, which recently merged with Robert Wood Johnson, and they have a great emergency services network between the two of them. So we're covered pretty well here in town, and of course that doesn't specifically help what's going on over in Sierra Leone, the other African countries most affected by this. And I'm not the person to speak on it, the details of that, but I do been following this in the news. And unfortunately, things are more under control here, it seems, in the US in general, Franklin in specific. But unfortunately, it seems like there's still a lot of work to be done in Sierra Leone and surrounding countries in Africa. And I'm sure that they're going to touch on that, some of the other speakers. Anyway, thank you. Thank you very much.
This proceedings, I know Ms. Calon doesn't know it yet, but I'm about to tell her that she will actually run most of it. Unfortunately, I do have to leave in probably about 15 minutes. So she will take over from me, and I'm sure she'll do a splendid job. But what I'm going to do, I know there are a few people who want to say a few words, but first and foremost, I will call Dr. L.U.M. Blyden to come say a few words to us. Dr. Blyden. Well,
Thank you.
I'm sure a lot of you don't know who he is. I've known him almost all my life. We've been neighbors from childhood, and he's a consummate professional. And if you want to know about hydroponic plants, is that right? He's an expert. He spent a lot of time in Sierra Leone. He knows the country very well, and he is the son of one of Sierra Leone's greatest orators, the late Dr. Edward Blyden. But anyway, I introduce Dr. Blyden as well, and he will say a few words. Thanks.
Thank you for that introduction. I won't give any details of some of the things that I know about you that probably
I know about you too.
But it's good to get together in a time of crisis and know that we can do something for ourselves. And in this situation, it goes beyond that, because not only are we called upon to do something for ourselves as Sierra Leoneans, but we're also called upon to do something for the rest of the world. Because if we are not successful at doing what we need to do to protect ourselves in Sierra Leone, then the rest of the world will suffer the fate that some of our compatriots are already suffering. So that's why some of the people who have sacrificed their lives already in Sierra Leone, the health workers on the front line, the scientific researchers whose obituaries are published along with the scientific papers of their research, the burial teams, these are all real heroes in the highest sense of the word. And I never talk about Ebola without first mentioning the contribution that those Sierra Leoneans have made to the world. And I call on all of you to recognize that, and recognize that we have a responsibility to follow in their footsteps, in no matter how small a way we are able to do it, and no matter how far away we appear to be from the problem. Because in the global village, there's no distance anymore. We're only a few hours from Sierra Leone here. Anyway, to tell you a little bit more about what I'm doing, I'm based here in New York City. I've been working in the biotechnology field for a long time now. And as fate would have it, the area I've been working on is vaccine development and development of medical products using the latest gene technologies. So as it turns out, one of the things that we're able to do is to try to prepare different types of materials that will be needed to fight this virus, whether it's vaccine or diagnostic test kits, or even this, you've all heard of ZMapp therapeutic. Well, one of the problems with ZMapp is that it's going to take a long time to make it. There's not enough dose and all that sort of thing. So I'm trying to raise the funding now from governments and private industry to actually see if we can make it using a technology that I invented some years ago that just uses ordinary chicken eggs as a way of manufacturing. So that's part of the work I do. Recently, I also started another, more of a nonprofit type of initiative to contribute to the communities here, not only the immigrant communities, but the other people who are concerned about this disease and what will happen if it comes here, and how they're going to be dealt with when they go to the hospital and so on and so forth. So that organization is called HART, which stands for the Harlem Ebola Response Team. And the first thing we've done is to develop special technology to improve the protective gowns. So we're going to chemically coat the gowns with a viricide, so that even if there's a drop falls on it, the viricide will kill it. And it's a permanently attached. It's like permanently attaching an antibiotic to the clothing that the health workers. So we put in our application to USAID in response to the president's call here, and we're trying to fund that by other channels as well. The second thing we're doing is working with hospitals. So again, maybe in Franklin here you have a hospital and they're looking for ways to understand how to deal with immigrants when they come to the hospital. And we have a number of experts who have been doing this for some years now. Originally, I got involved with this work in Maine with the Somali refugee crisis at that time, because people were coming to the hospital and there was such a difference in the cultures that the doctors didn't know how to deal with people, and for that matter, the patients didn't know how to deal with the doctors. So we realized and we recognized that this is a need, and we'd be very happy to respond to any local, we can come in initially and just give you a PowerPoint presentation so that we can find ways in which we might be able to help and support your own efforts to better serve the immigrant communities here, not just from Sierra Leone, from anywhere. What else do I have to say? Oh, one more thing. The third project that I've got my head in at the moment is one that has been organized by Dr. Tijansi, who is based in North Carolina. He's a Sierra Leonean, and he is going to run the first serum therapy trial in Sierra Leone. And he deserves a round of applause, because this is a huge thing for Sierra Leone. And for those of you who are not familiar with the medical dimension, it involves one of the only ways you can fight Ebola is to take serum from a survivor which contains antibodies that have been successful at fighting the disease, and actually do an IV to patients who are suffering from it. So Dr. Tijansi has organized to collect serum from at least 250 survivors who he has to, feed and clothe and keep well during a period of 3 or 4 weeks. And they'll be giving blood every 12 hours. And that blood will be filtered using special machines that filter out the cells and the things that would otherwise give cross reaction. And that serum will then be transported to the Hastings Military Hospital, where those IVs will be given to emergency patients. They need funding. They have a campaign on GoFundMe.com, GoFundMe.com, and they're trying to raise $105,000. They just started the campaign. They're around $12,000 now, I think. So I really encourage you to support that project. Apart from the fact that it's a homegrown project, Gates Foundation is giving millions of dollars to similar thing in Guinea and Liberia and everywhere else. But this one is a homegrown project. Sierra Leone, groups of Sierra Leonean doctors, they got together. They're working with the military hospital in Hastings. This is one of the best Ebola treatment centers in the world. And the reason I say that is because they have managed to achieve a 60, it's about 60.
80. Yeah.
It's 80.
80.
Okay.
80%.
Yeah, I'm confusing them with Canada. They've got 80% survival. And the reason is very simple. They had the sense to train survivors how to do IVs. So the first thing they do is somebody comes in the door, they put them on IV. Okay, they put them on IV, and they have a staff that's resistant to the disease. So you have confidence to work closely with the patients and to give them care. So we have to invest in our survivors. We have to do a training program with them. So I'm going to be interfacing with Dr. Tijansi's program. I'm going to take the blood cells off of the filters, and I'm going to find the genes in those blood cells that are making the antibodies. So from that, we can then make the ZMapp using eggs. So if we're successful, we'll not only be able to save patients with serum, but at some point, it's probably going to take more than a year, but at some point, we'll be able to use the antibodies directly made in a mass manufacturing system, so that we don't have to be bleeding them every 12 hours anymore. So this is the whole vision of what we can do for ourselves as Sierra Leoneans. And the main thing we need, as always, is the funding. So I encourage you to keep track of those projects.
Thank you so much, Dr. Blyden. And I knew you'd be, well, not impressed, but at least very grateful for his talk. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to take my leave now. I wish I could stay a little longer and be here, and especially with the government official coming to hear what they have to say. But I'm going to leave you. I'm going to bring in Mr. Fode Manzare, who, as always, is the first person to organize these things and put them together. And both he and Ms. Callon will team tag and get this press conference going. So thank you all, and I'll talk to you and see you again sometime soon.
Thank you. Thank you all. Again, I want to continue to apologize. Our government officials, we have a funeral. Somebody died in Washington, D.C., so that caused a little bit of delay. Right, and as a matter of fact, it's outside. So we will continue. What we're going to do right now is call on, I want to call on our Honorable UN Minister, Leroy Capscano. As you all know, he's always here supporting our community. Whenever we need him, he's here. He's put up his best effort as always. He's going to say a few words in support of the initiative that is going out there in the media and things that all of us can do to help reshape the information that is going out about our country. As you all know, the Deputy Government Spokesman is going to give us detailed information of what is going on the ground in Sierra Leone. So without further ado, Honorable Minister, please, let's give him a round of applause.
Good evening, everybody. It's unfortunate that we have to be meeting like this for a problem like Ebola, which is actually getting worse in West Africa, even though we are getting reports that Liberia and Guinea have seem to have overcome the rapid transmission of the disease. But we are cautious also because we don't want to create that complacency that will help to make the situation worse. But as we all know, the situation is not quite good. So more effort is needed. As you all know, our doctors are dying. We lost 2 doctors this past week. And the sad thing about it is that these are trained specialists like that, Dr. Salia, who died. She's a trained surgeon. It takes a lot of time to train these people. So when we lose them, we're going to have serious repercussions, even after Ebola, because when do we train them again? When do we train people like that? You know, so these are the problems we have to look at. That's why we are appealing to the world, because it does seem to me that the world still does not know the seriousness of Ebola. You see, because the kind of help that is going in is actually not adequate. We needed more. We need more intervention. We need more doctors. We need more nurses, and we need more treatment centers. We need more beds for the Ebola patients. But what we see happening is aid is going in, but I can say it's trickling in. It's not going in the way we expect, the way we want it to be. And so we continue our appeal to the international world. If there's anybody like the councilmen who are here, we are appealing to them to use their good offices, to use their goodwill to help us to appeal to the international community to move faster than they are doing, because the situation is not improving as we had expected. You know, So we need a more accelerated international response. And also, it's not only from institutions and organizations, but we believe that there are private individuals. There are people in America, in England, in Germany, who are millionaires and billionaires. We expect these people to help us, to come to our aid, because Ebola is not a West African problem. It is a national problem. It's an international problem. And we do not know, we have been very lucky to have a remarkable survival rate in the US so far, but nobody can tell what might happen next. You never know, maybe the outbreak could come here and then, we will not be lucky with this kind of survival rate that we're having now. So we have to do something. We have to move faster than we are doing. So there are private individuals. They can do something. They can contribute. They can contribute millions, but it's not being done. And I think it's not right. And then also, there's this problem that we also want to bring to the notice of the council. We are receiving reports that our children are being stigmatized in the schools, And I read a report this evening that was very disturbing. An artist placed an announcement on Facebook that she was going to have a program on Africa, and she called the program Mama Africa. But people went and replaced the Mama Africa with Mama Ebola. You see that? So more or less they are associating Africa now with Ebola. It's no longer Mama Africa, but Mama Ebola. And this is what our children are suffering in the schools. The children are being stigmatized. I know it is very unfair, because we should know that the psychological impact of this stigmatization, it's going to last long, way after Ebola. But these kids go to school, they are innocent, they don't know how Ebola started, they don't know anything about it. But why are they bearing the brunt of the stigmatization? Why? Why do these kids have to go through this? So we want to appeal to our councilmen, if there's anything they could do to reach out to these schools, to our schools. We have very good schools. I don't want to call our, I don't want to say anything negative about the Franklin Township School, because I taught in the Franklin Township school systems. I know we have very good schools. I know we have very good pupils. I know we have very good administrators. I know that I'm also happy that the students that were there when I was there, the Sierra Leonean kids were well treated. I'm not complaining that they were well treated. That I can say. There was a time when I praised Mr. Wilson, who he was the principal at that time. I said, Mrs. Wilson and Mrs. Badusko. I praised them. I said they are doing well for the Sierra Leonean kids, and Sierra Leoneans are grateful. So you see, so it's not that the Franklin school system is bad, but kids are like that. They take advantage of situations to stigmatize their friends. So please, if there's anything that could be done, we are appealing to you for that to be done, so that our kids will stop going through what they are going through, because that as children it will affect them. Our deputy spokesman is here, Mr. Ajibu Jallo. So I will just cut short what I'm saying here. Mr. Ajibu Jallo, welcome. We know that he had a funeral in Maryland, so that could be the reason why he came late. And then also, we want to introduce Mr. Abu Bangura. I think many of you have not met him before. Can you stand up, sir? Yeah, that is Mr. Abu Bangura. He's the general manager of the Ports Authority. Yeah, very good. So he's here. Then also, Fode Masari is going to introduce the deputy spokesman, Mr. Ajibu Jallo. But he's a very popular man, and you all know him. So I don't think he needs introduction here. When he's in New Jersey, he doesn't need introduction, because this has been his place. But let me just continue briefly, So as I said, I'm appealing to the councilmen to do something about it, because we are hearing these complaints, and we think that something needs to be done so that these children will stop undergoing these problems. Because if the kids are unhappy, and you know that the parents are going to be unhappy, we're going to have a very unhappy Sierra Leonean community here. And you know that when you look at the contribution that we are making to this state, you know, I don't think we deserve what is going on. So please help us to stop this stigmatization of our kids in the schools. And then we continue our appeal. We need more doctors, we need more nurses, we need more health workers, we need more trainers. We need people to go in and train our people about how to observe these protocols and precautions. Something is being done by the country itself, but we believe that we need more help in these areas. And then also, we need protective materials, respiratory protective masks, gears, chlorine, gloves, etc. and etc. And then finally, this appeal is for my fellow Sierra Leoneans. The other day, I was standing here and I said the same thing, and I want to say the same thing, that we should be careful the kind of impression that we give to the international world about our country. We know that we have this Ebola problem, but let us stop mixing it with politics. Let us stop politicizing it. Whatever problems you have with the government, this is not the time to articulate it, because by writing some of those salacious things that we see on the internet, you are limiting our country from getting the kind of international aid that it should get, because you are making it seem like we are responsible for the Ebola. That's what you are making it seem like. The people who are doing it, they are making it seem like Sierra Leoneans are very careless people. They don't follow protocols, and they are making it look also like the government is not serious, that in fact the government is responsible for what is going on. You know, when the international world reads some of these things on the internet, what happens? They look at us as people who do not probably deserve intervention, because they know that whatever they do, the problem will come again, because we are not helping ourselves. So please, if there is ever any time for us to rebrand our country, this is the time. This is the time to let the world know. The world know that before Ebola struck, we have been involved in national development. You all have been seeing the pictures. You know, President Nkrumah has been doing a great job before this Ebola came. He has been doing a great job. Look at the roads, infrastructural development. Even today, he went to Kono and he commissioned the electricity project there. They're going to be having 24 hours electricity. You see? Yes, Kono, yes, today. Yes. You see, so even with all these problems, President Nkrumah is trying. He's not only involved with this work to make sure that Ebola is contained, but he also has an eye on development. And this is what he did in Kono today. You see? And yesterday they did groundbreaking for another treatment center in Freetown. So he's doing well. So for people to be blaming him, you know, it's unfair. It's very unfair. You know, he has not done anything wrong. He has not done anything wrong, believe me. And this is somebody that we are going to miss when his term expires. We're going to miss him, because he is in fact, the most progressive president that we have ever had in Sierra Leone.
That is true. That
is true. We have never had a president like President Nkrumah. And when his term expires, we're going to miss him. But we tend to forget ourselves. We tend to write things that you see, but the good thing about it is that, working in the UN, I want to tell you this. The good thing about it is that if you are a good person and you are doing good things, it's very difficult for people to damage your reputation. Most of these things that people write on the internet, the real stakeholders, they know that it is politics. They know the quality of President Nkrumah. They know his capacity. They know the development that he has brought to Sierra Leone. So these things don't impress them, you know, because otherwise some of the help that we are receiving would not have been receiving them, like from the IMF, from the World Bank, you see, would not have been receiving them. But they know that he's doing well. But let us caution ourselves. Let us be careful. Let us love our country. I think I've gone above my time. And I just want to welcome Mr. Ajibu Jallo once again, and Mr. Bagura, and hand over to Mr. Fodi Masari. Thank you.
Let's give the Reverend a round of applause. And I want to let you guys know this event is being broadcast worldwide as we are sitting here. So we're not alone, and Sierra Leoneans from their computers, from their handheld phone, elsewhere around the world, they are actually with us here, at least knowing that the Deputy Government Spokesman is here. But I want to bring somebody up to the podium that most of you may not know, Mr. Abu Bangura. Please come on. He's the General Manager for the Sierra Leone Port Authority. And he's familiar with what is going on, the effort that the government is doing in terms of revenue and other stuff that is happening right now. So we're going to let him talk a little bit about the challenges that we have as a government.
Okay. Thank you. Good evening. Thank you for having me here. I've been in the US for about 35 days now, so I did go through the 21 days incubation period. That's what we do in Sierra Leone now. We play by the rules, and Ebola is helping us do just that. Let me start by thanking the Franklin Township. As a background, I came to the States too, but I went to school in Atlanta, Georgia. And my background, worked for PricewaterhouseCoopers, Coca-Cola. I came to DC. I was the controller for the UN Foundation, and I ended up in Asia, where I was worked for USAID before I went to Freetown. So I know America pretty well, and I know the support Fodi and others have gotten from this township. So on behalf of Sierra Leone, we salute you. We thank you for your support. Now, I'll speak on behalf of the Ports Authority because that's why I'm here, and by extension, Sierra Leone. But I'm sure my brother, the government spokesman, can talk about the bigger issues. Ebola caught us all by surprise. I remember one of the first meetings I happened to be in, where we had the government, had all the structures in place, including the international community, vis-a-vis WHO, and you name it, where decisions were being made as to how to address things. And one of the big issues was, should we close or not close borders? And I still remember one of the final recommendations by the WHO representative or whoever was there. They were against closing borders, maybe for justifiable reasons. One was closing the border did not meet the threshold that they had regarding such outbreaks. Number two, closing borders was a false assurance. Because when you tell people you've closed borders, the assumption is, well, we're fine. But we have porous borders where you all know. So I'm saying this to say we're back there, we're working, we know what His Excellency and the government is doing, but we all also plugged in here, and what we hear sometimes is the criticism as to what the government has not done. The government spokesman could do a better job than me, but as an insider to some extent, I would say, I've never seen a head of state work so hard. I've never seen a government work so hard. Because you have to look at this Ebola for what it is. It is unprecedented. This is something no one knew about. It happened in Zaire, I think they said in the 1970s or 80s, and that was it. So it's so easy to what we say here Monday morning, quarterback, to say the government hasn't done this or hasn't done it. If you are in Freetown, you will not say that. I just want to make this known. I've never seen our president work so hard. He's up to 2, 3 in the morning. You see him driving to work at 7:30 the next day. That's all he's consumed. On that note, we want to thank you guys. We're looking forward to your support. Constructive criticism and feedback, absolutely. It keeps our feet to the fire. We need that. But let no one in good conscience say the government is not doing what they ought to do. They're doing what they know how to do with support from the international community. And if you remember, the WHO, if I understand, came out and admitted that even they were caught flat-footed. And hence, the things they know now, we didn't know then. What are we asking of you? Let me talk from the port's point of view. Ebola is one of the worst experiences you can go through. Especially, I have a personal story. But when it came, we as the port went to work to address issues. Our goal was simple, to ensure not a single Ebola case occurs at the port. So we did our sensitization. You have your chlorinated water. We have tracers. We do all that. We have sensitizations. We sensitize port personnel. We sensitize the community outside the port. We did sensitization for the shipping industry when we came up and set standards. For now, for example, no one aboard the ship is allowed to come in country. Zero. Even the government and ports personnel that board ships, we've limited the numbers. And before you enter the port, we have tracers, we have thermometers, laser thermometers, we have checks and balances to make sure that whoever enters the port domain is cleared of Ebola symptoms. And even when you're in the port, we've hired tracers. Their job is just to go around. They have the right to stop people, check your temperature on site, and even if they determine that you exhibit Ebola symptoms, they can refer you right to, we have security that refers you to a certain section, and you go from there. After that, since the Port Authority is in charge of the ferry terminals, not the ferries, but the terminals, we joined forces with the mayor of Freetown to ensure that we have screening mechanisms in all the ferry terminals. So now if anyone has traveled, by the time you get into the ferries, there is a queue. We have the medical professionals with their thermometers and you name it. Everyone disembarks their vehicle. You go through one after the other, regardless of who you are, to make sure you register within a certain temperature. If it's above that, you get sent to another section where medical professionals will check you. Unfortunately, a few people have been stopped from traveling if we determine that we cannot conclusively determine your ailment. We have that at each and every one of the terminals. And when you go to the airport, we have the same thing. Bottom line, Sierra Leone has changed. With every problem, there's a silver lining. And what Ebola has done is it has forced us to step back and take a second look at our customary beliefs that we took for granted. For instance, when I got to the States, I was shocked to see people shaking hands. It's all over the park. I was shocked, like my cousin came, what's going on here? We don't shake hands in Sierra Leone. You don't get close to people. When I go home, my chauffeur leaves. If I want to drive the car, they chlorinate the entire car. That's how we live in Sierra Leone now. Because you must. And why do we do this? The port story, as I sit here, knock on wood, we haven't had a single case of Ebola. Because what has happened to the vessel industry, shipping industry, is akin to what happened with the aircraft industry. Slowly but surely, shipping lines have deterred some of their vessels to go to ports that are perceived to be unsafe Ebola zones, like Liberia. When this thing started, we had shipping lines that pulled out. Thankfully for Sierra Leone, as I speak, the most that they have done is Some shipping lines will do what they call on transshipments, send things to Senegal, and then another ship would bring things to. Has there been a reduction in traffic? Absolutely. Because what happens is, as a result of the Ebola epidemic or the appearance of it, many non-emergency transactions are delayed or put on hold. And that has an impact on our bottom line. Like September wasn't a good month. October is a better month. So that's what we are doing here on the ground. Our changes, our new strategies have absolutely impacted commerce. Like all the boats, you that are from Sierra Leone, you know, all the little boats that go from Kafu Bolom to you name it, all those boats, we had to terminate their services. Period. You must, because what was happening is, even though you had control over the ferry services, what happens? People use those little boats to go, so we had to stop all of them. Well, of course, people complain, but what this has done for us is it has strengthened our resolve to understand that for us to get to where we need to be, we must make some sacrifices. I'm sure my brother will come talk about the burial, the impact of the changes in the burial cultures. Bottom line, I think when all this is over, the silver lining would be we'll have a more disciplined Sierra Leone, where people understand that at the end of the day, there are rules and regulations that must be complied with. I am GM. When I get in the morning, I have to wash my hands. I have people looking. If I see people don't, I need to know who the security is. He gets suspended for that day. You must go with the program. We succeeded at Pricewaterhouse, at Coca-Cola. Why? Because there are structures. There are rules and regulations. Those are institutions. What our problem, our challenges in Africa is we need to build more of those institutions. Where one GM leaves, another one comes, there's a structure in place that you jump in. But unfortunately, we're working on those. So it's so easy to be in this part of the world. It's easy to complain. I like it. Like when I went to the port, I have suggestion boxes all over the port. I want to know. Tell me. If you don't tell me, I can't fix it. But we need constructive criticism because it's not easy. Things are not easy back home. Let me give a personal story. There's a gentleman that just passed away. Oh, sorry, you guys are not here. Okay, I thought I'm loud enough. Okay, sorry. A gentleman that just passed away, Dr. Salia, that you guys may have heard of. Well, let me tell you. Okay. Before I came to the States, I've been working in Sierra Leone for 2.5 years without going on vacation. That's 15-hour days. Why? I consider myself very competent. I can hold my own. But when you go to a place that does not have the structures that you need, you have to improvise and work longer, faster, better. So it's easier. Sometimes I sit at the port and think about my days at Pricewaterhouse, the best and the brightest, Coca-Cola. You say, what's the difference? Well, back here, when you turn the light on, it goes on. When you turn the tap on, if you don't get hot water within 3 seconds, you think there's a problem, right? Yeah. I mean, those are the realities. And with me, thankfully, I work in Asia as well, India, Kabul, and those. So I have a better worldview to see where things are. I'm saying this to my Sierra Leonean brothers and sisters. Yes, we can perform. We're capable. Let no one tell you we're not. We just need to get together, identify what the challenges are, and collaboratively try to work at them. If we keep criticizing, even the best of us will be pushed to say, you know something, if you think you can do it better, can't do it. And when you go, know what you're going to find out? You respect people like Dr. Anes Baikoma and others. Because I say, why would you want to be president of a nation where you work 18-hour days? We don't have the structures in place. So to our friends in the international community, that is what we are lacking. the institutions that makes everyone in this room knows if they have to be at work at 7 a.m., you leave home at 6, correct? You don't need anyone to tell you. Let me tell you a story, a secret. When I start my days at 7:30, first meeting, okay, 8, and then you're looking for someone, a manager, and he shows up at 10, and, oh, Jim, I stopped by the bank. So imagine with my training, you stopped at the bank? But that's the norm. There are no structures. So please, we're reaching out to you. I joked with my friends. I said, now we're in the developing world. You are in the first world. We look up to you. We need your support. The country needs your support. Try to empathize more. And we truly looking forward to getting support from you. Finally, Dr. Martin Salia that just passed away. Let me tell you how difficult and critical our lives are. Sometime around first week in October, I was having these side pains. I said, well, I'm going on vacation. It pained me. I called my doctor at the port. We have a clinic. And he said, I'll have a doctor come see you. Who was this doctor? Martin Salia, the guy that just passed away. He shows up, meets me at my home, the gloves, the whole 9 yards. The only time I've met this guy. But he had such an impression. Young, energetic, I mean the right attitude. This guy works, he's a professor at the university. He works at Connaught Hospital. He also works as his regular. He's working 14, 15-hour days. We have people like that in Sierra Leone. Then he calls me 2, 3 times to follow up, but I'm so busy, 15-hour days, and I just ignored him, and then I came to the States. So imagine how heartbreaking it is for me to hear he gets flown to the States, and the next minute he passed away. Well, those are the dangers we go through, sir. Even someone at my level. But for me coming to the States, who knows? I may have stayed in Sierra Leone, made contact with him again, he would have been treating me, and who knows? You can understand he contracted the Ebola about a month prior to him passing away. But those are the dangers that we work with. So when we see some of these criticisms and some of these, trust me, I was Mr. US. I was here for 25 years, and I worked with the best and the brightest. I can say that with confidence. But when you go to Africa, it's a little bit different. And to survive, you must be empathetic. You have to empathize, understand, empathize. Because those people that you see, I don't think they like being where they are. No. You don't want to go to a ministry where you're asking for something, they say, well, the power has gone up. So something you do here in 5 minutes may take you 2 days. I don't care how good you are at what you do. Eventually it takes its toll. So on that note, I'm just here to say thank you for your support. Please be a little bit more empathetic. Let's respect those in leadership a little bit more. It's easy, we talk about corruption, this, that, and the other. Yes, hold our feet to the fire. But let me tell you, I'm a CPA. I've done it. I've seen corruption here. I've gone to Afghanistan. I've gone to here. You know my views about corruption? It all has to do with putting internal controls in place and having consequences. I think Shereen is working on that right now. Please continue to hold our feet to the fire. That's what I say to my employees. That's what I say in the media in Sierra Leone, because it's good for us. But at the same token, try to be more empathetic, because I think we're all on the same team, trying to achieve the same goal. On that note, I thank you.
Let's give it again. Louder, please. Well, I think we are getting into the nitty-gritty of things right now, and we are going to butcher the program because of time. I'm going to call my colleague here, Mr. Dauda Mansere. He's going to introduce our guest speaker, the Deputy Government Spokesman, Mr. Dauda. Please give him a round of applause.
Thank you, Alaji, for that compliment. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Dabra John Masare. Most of us know I'm the youth activist for this great Franklin Township and a politician right here in this Franklin Township. Ward councilman, a male for Democratic Party, a Sierra Leonean, of course, yes, a United States citizen, yes, but I'm here today to introduce somebody so special. He's a special guy, he's a man of potentials. This guy has a charisma to mix language and put it together, even in Creole, in Latin and French. He can bring it like that. He is an entrepreneurship man, an activist, an enterprise man, an activist in this state of New Jersey. He is a politician, locally and internationally. And he's well praised back home. He's a nice gentleman, a very good man, nice man, who can make things happen in society. And even though you put him down, that particular man gonna stood up on that shoe and say, oh yes, I respect you, but this is the exact thing. He's gonna say, it's not a easy man at all. It belongs to society, a society of institution, a society of politics, and it belongs to the whole academia in the society of itself. I will appreciate if each and everybody here in this house join me to welcome our Deputy Information Man of our Sierra Leone country, the Republic of Sierra Leone, Mr. Hajibu Ojaro.
Thank you.
And I will hold his breath for now to send a condolence to him. I'm so sorry for your loss. Thank you.
Dowda, thank you very much. After such an all-encompassing introduction, I am now lost for words and I don't even know how to start this. So help me God. Mr. Chairman, please allow me to stand on the existing protocols. And let me also quickly convey my own gratitudes and felicitations and thanks on behalf of the government of Sierra Leone to the Franklin Township officials here for making this auditorium available and making this program what it is. I would like to profusely and seriously apologize for being late here this evening. It's something I'll rather not happen, but what it is what it is. Please accept my apologies. I was bereaved. I was informed just yesterday when I flew in from London that my aunt had passed. And I had to fly down to Virginia to meet with the family. And Jim and I decided whether or not we should fly up here or we should drive up here. And we chose to drive. And we were struck with all kinds of traffic. So it goes to tell you that we are losing our New Jerseyanism in us. We are more Sierra Leonean than anything else. But we're here, better late than never. I say good evening to everybody. Good evening. I also want to now thank you for attending this program. I want to thank you for being here. I think it is important, I think it is imperative, I think it is indicative that if I am in country, I should meet with my fellow Sierra Leoneans and have heart-to-heart discussion with them as to what is obtained, what is happening in Sierra Leone. If the audience consists of only 2 persons, that's fine. If it consists of 100 people, that's still fine. What is important is that I am able to communicate effectively what is happening on the ground so they're informed, they're fully informed, and so they can make positive contributions. Life is tough in Sierra Leone. It's extremely challenging, very challenging. Ebola came to us at a time that we did not expect it. Ebola came to us at a time that we did not know what Ebola is all about. We had no clue how to detect Ebola. As a country, we did not have the capacity. As a country, we did not have the trained medics, the trained personnel. As a country, we did not have the laboratories to figure out what is Ebola. We knew nothing about Ebola. Ebola was monumental. Ebola was grand. Ebola was bigger than any one country can deal with. And if you know Sierra Leoneans in general, we're very affable. We're good people. We're very welcoming. We have good neighborliness. We open the borders. For a very long time, we've only had an emergency border with neighboring countries. Guinea and Sierra Leone, Liberia and Sierra Leone are one and the same. There's absolutely no difference between New Jersey and Pennsylvania. You'll cross through just like you would cross from Pennsylvania into New Jersey or even New York to New Jersey. That's how Sierra Leone has been. We've been very liberal people for quite a long time. In fact, those people that lived in the border close to Guinea, where Ebola started, actually go into Guinea to buy their basic food. Most of them use Guinea money to do transaction. That's how liberal we've been for a long time. That's Sierra Leoneans for you. We're very peaceful and we're very welcoming. So when we found out that we had Ebola, when the president was informed that Ebola is present in our country on the 25th of May, quite a lot of people say, why didn't we close the borders down? My friends, my brothers, my sisters, it's impossible. It's impossible. We have a total of 8,500 Army personnel. And even if you line them up right across the parameters of Guinea, Liberia, and Sierra Leone, you still would not be able to completely close those borders. They're very porous. That's how it is. It's impossible. WHO came into relevance because they have the know-how. We call them the Master Sabi, the people that know how. They have been exposed to all this arrangements back in 1976 when Ebola broke out in Congo. WHO came, they're the people we depend on. They're the people that are world leaders. They are the UN. They have the plethora of ideas. They have the plethora of doctors and everything that it takes to actually deal with Ebola. So we had to listen to them. And they advised against closing borders. We also have an agreement in that basin between Liberia, Guinea, and Sierra Leone called the Mana River Union. And that charter also advised against closing borders. In fact, we had Ebola in Guinea, we had Ebola in Liberia, and Ebola in Sierra Leone. What are you closing? You're all one and the same. 6.5, 1 dozen the same. Am I clear? Are you with me? Yes. So closing the border was not a viable solution at the time. But I must tell you that our president, your president, has a mandate to protect, to serve, and to make sure he creates the enabling environment for us to be able to live life to a full potential, which means we must have good health. And today, I'll tell you unequivocally, I'll tell you straight, as straight as possible, he's working day and night to make sure we attract the attention of the international community, to make sure we attract the good attitude, to make sure it gets to those who needs to hear us so we can eradicate Ebola. As I move around the world, there has been serious misinformation. There has been rumors. People either politicize the issue of Ebola, or it might be the lack of information. It might be the issue of denial. It might be issue of ignorance, but there has been a huge amount of information that is going around that is incorrect about the handling of Ebola in Sierra Leone. And it was on that note that I thought it makes sense for me to do the best I can while I'm here to talk to Sierra Leoneans wherever they may be, so they know the facts, understand the challenges, understand the achievements we're making, so they can also join in. Because every one of us can make a contribution to the fight against Ebola. We're all charged with different talents. We're all charged with different acumen. Most of you are nurses. There are engineers amongst us here. There are people that are good in the media. I mean, I'm saying we have an eclectic mix of talents, all of which is important to the eradication of Ebola. Sierra Leoneans, we have a challenging issue in our country. It is tough, it is difficult. I'm not going to mix my words. I'll tell you like it is, because my boss, whom, in fact, you would excuse me, I should have conveyed his gratitudes and greetings before I even said anything, but better late than never. Let me quickly convey the greetings of the President of the Republic of Sierra Leone and my direct boss, the Minister of Information and Communication, Honorable Alpha. The President has told us, you tell the people what is happening, you tell them the truth, even if it is bad, even if it's distasteful. From day one, the President has said that this is not political, this is non-religious, this has nothing to do with sex, has nothing to do with creed. Ebola is an enemy. Ebola will take you down regardless of what political party you support. And we cannot politicize this. We must put our efforts together to do what we can to eradicate Ebola. Ebola knows nobody. That's how difficult it is. So when the President was informed, he established what he called the Presidential Task Force. He established what he called the Interministerial Task Force, all in an effort to get all hands on deck. He also brought on board at the presidential level the chairman of the all political parties. Every other opposition party was brought into this arrangement because he wanted to make sure that all hands were on deck and this was not being politicized. He established what we call the EOC, which was the Emergency Operations Center, and that was where all our international partners, WHO, MSF, UNICEF, WFPA, and so Red Cross, and so on and so forth. And all of these international partners have a role to play. MSF deals with the curative part of it, treatment. WHO is the big umbrella organization. They'll give you the advice. And UNICEF also will provide medication. And the WFA will be able to move payloads of stuff, you know, as much as you want, as quick as possible. So all of them came together in what was called an Emergency Operations Center to be able to figure out how we can eradicate Ebola. And in that arrangement, they established some pillars. The case management pillar that dealt with the curative part of it. They established the sensitization pillar to talk to people, to get them to understand the risk associated with Ebola. They established the logistical part of it. Then the contact tracing and surveillance. Contact tracing. If I'm found to have Ebola, they'll have to go back and investigate all those that have come across. Because if you don't, you just take care of me, and I've been in touch with them, and I've transmitted Ebola to them, they can continue spreading Ebola. You also have the surveillance aspect, which is someone that is there, have the ability to look at you and tell that you're showing signs and symptoms of Ebola and ask you to be able to seek medical attention. That worked. Then the president had to declare a state of emergency. State of emergency gives him the right under Section 29, subsection 1, Act 6, right to declare a state of emergency that will allow him to do the things he needs to do to be able to maintain public order in the fight against Ebola. He took that to Parliament that represents every single sector and every single individual in the country. And Parliament adopted the resolution and passed it. Sierra Leone is under a state of emergency, which means your constitutional, your democratic rights are thus far suppressed. And it gives the president extra power to do the things they need to do to eradicate Ebola. So if you engage in mischievous statements, if you engage in contradictory statements, if you engage in statements that are determined to be undermining the effort to fight Ebola, you could be found culpable in a court of law. He did all the right things. The problem we had was what? International community, whom we expected to support and help us, their support was very sluggish. They were not there. The international community, who we looked up to support us, came in very late. They were very sluggish. Very sluggish. That lady came from Gegadu in Guinea. She went to a funeral. For some reason, she tampered with the body. She came back to Koindu, in Kisitang rather, and fooled around with family members, spread the disease. And then she moved into the hinterland, and before you knew it, Ebola was all over the place in Kailan. At the time, like I said, we did not have the capacity. All we had was a lab that took care of Lassa fever, and we were able to convert that to a lab that will be able to deal with Ebola-related issues, and that was in Kenema. So as the Ebola spread, when it became necessary to check blood or to run blood work, you'd have had to take the blood work from wherever it is, be it Moyamba, Freetown, or wherever, to Kenema, because that's the only place we had a lab to test them. And the only place we had a treatment center to deal with Ebola was in Kenema. So you had to move everyone back to Kenema. Until such time when we were able to establish another treatment center in Kailao. The president made a speech. He told us the issue of denial, the issue of misinformation, and the issue of plain ignorance caused the spread. And there are those that would deliberately spread Ebola. A fine case of a gentleman called Bashiru. Bashiru came from Kenema, tested positive in Kenema, left Kenema, came to Freetown, tested positive in Freetown. He was expected to be in a holding area. He escaped out of the holding area, went to Banff, okay, infected people in Banff, left Banff, and came back to Freetown, okay? And every step of the way, he inspected people and came to Macaulay Street and died in Macaulay Street. We had a case in Kinghaman Road where Sister Saudatu came and she was sick. The family brought her, she was sick. The doctor felt that she was showing classic signs of Ebola that decided to keep her in a holding area while they'll conduct a blood test. Mind you, at the time, the blood had to be taken all the way to Kenema. 2 days later, a family member came. One time. No, she's in holding. No, we don't want to hear that. Give us the Pikin. They had machetes, they had rocks, they caused a commotion, they broke down the door, they caused a whole lot of nonsense in the place. Nurses and doctors had no choice but to say, here's your daughter, take her. They took her out of there and they kept her. As a government, we looked around for a whole week, finally found her. By the time we found her, her blood test was back already. It was positive. Then they had to take her to Kenema because that was the only place we had a treatment center. On the way to Kenema, she died. Her mother and father was in the ambulance with her because they insisted that they were going to go with her. And guess what? They got infected too and they died. Other family members died. And before you knew it, about 21 family members died. Issue of denial. So now Ebola is spreading. Also, the state of emergency saw the closures of clubs, the closures of bars, anything that will actually precipitate the need for people to congregate and have body-to-body contact was stopped. Okada drivers, motorcycles, were stopped from operating between 7 p.m. and 7 a.m. in the morning, all in an effort to reduce the amount of body contact. The president then tried to drum up support from the international community. Obama had invited him on August the 18th to a summit called the All African Summit. And because we were doing fantastically well as a country in terms of our democracy attributes, in terms of our economic attributes, we were expected to be front and center in that summit. The president decided not to attend that all-important summit. President missed the 69th General Assembly. He refused to leave the country. As a general, he thought he was supposed to be in front and was supposed to do the things that we needed to do to fix the problem. He only considered and decided to leave the country once when the British decided they were going to do a fundraising for Ebola-related issue in London. And when he boarded the plane taxied to the runway, and for some reason the pilot could not take off. He reported technical problems. 20 minutes later, the president said, "What is going on? We're having some problems. We're calling London now to find out how to fix it." He says, "No, take me back." And he disembarked. He hasn't left the country since. He's been in contact with World Bank through video conferencing. He's been talking to the AU. He's been talking to other people. And today we're grateful there's been some response from the international community. The British have come on strong. They have pledged that they were going to put up 700 beds. They were going to build treatment centers across the country. The Cubans sent us 62 doctors and 102 nurses. The Chinese were the first to help out. They sent a plane load, a 747 jet of PPEs, equipments, and sent 8 personnel to come train us how to use these equipments, and gave cash money. There's been a lot of support that is coming through now. There has been a need to reconfigure the EOC to what they call the NERC, from the Emergency Operations Center to the National Ebola Response Center, which has a more global arrangement about it because of the various diverse equipments that are coming and funds and everything else. There needed to be a much bigger operation that has the ability to synchronize, to create the synergy, and to coordinate so that we can get an effective service delivery out of this. What we need in Sierra Leone is 1,500 beds. We need a total of 1,500 beds. Once we're able to have 1,500 beds, I have a place to take the sick. We also need laboratories around the country, labs to be able to conduct blood tests. Once you can do that, Ebola will be just like malaria or cholera, because they'll go ahead and treat the people that are sick and we can carry on our business. But because we did not have beds, we did not have holding centers, people kept the sick at home. You must have heard about dead bodies being in the home for 3 days and 4 days. Those were difficult times, because at the time we had one lab, the lab in Canada. Before, the South Africans supported us with a lab in Laka. Those labs had a capacity of doing just about 58 blood tests per day. And the results come out at 9 o'clock in the morning and at 5 o'clock in the evening, which means if you bring your blood at 6 o'clock, you gotta wait till 9 o'clock for it to go in, and 12 hours from then, 12 hours after that is when you get the results, provided they don't have any other tests waiting in front of you.
Wow. Priority.
So there was a problem where someone dies, you had to establish what that person died from. So they'll come in and they'll do a swab, Okay, and they'll take that swab down to the lab, and you have to wait till you get the results. Meanwhile, the body stays at the house. I have nowhere to take it. When the swab comes out, if it says it's Ebola, then of course the burial team comes and the government will take the body away and will bury it. If it's not Ebola, then the family can go ahead and do what they want to do with it and bury it. But because the lab had limited capacity, there's a problem. You have dead bodies all over the place. It's difficult. As a government, we trained 26 Okada drivers, guys with motorcycles, to be able to negotiate their way up the hills and things of that nature, to get to a dead body once it's reported, get the swab very quickly, go to the lab and be able to bring the results back. It was the establishment of the 117, an emergency response line. 911, we had 117. Again, we didn't have capacity. Sierra Leone is a small, poor country. This was new to us. Started off with 7 personnel. Then we moved to 17 personnel. Today we have 30. And now we have a computer system that has the ability of queuing up and holding lines and whatnot and so on. But before then, they didn't have the personnel, they didn't have the training. It was difficult. When I talk to people, I tell them, if you're calling in 117, you're reporting a death or you're reporting a sick person, get a piece of paper and write down your name. Write down your telephone number. Look at the address. 475 DEMOTT Lane. Write it down. Blue House. Write it down. Write the name of the person that's sick or dead. Then take that, call the number, and read right through that. But people don't do that. They take the telephone, they call 117. I have a death here. Half the time they talk for 1 hour and say nothing. The person in the other end, this is new to them. They're frustrated too. So nothing comes out of it. Wow. Yet you have others that are trying the line. Just take the telephone and call 117. I just want to make sure if it's working. And they're clogging up the lines. So when people tell you, we've been calling 117 and it's not going through, these are all the issues that you have to deal with. We've done a lot. With this new National Emergency Response Center, we've now integrated the military into all of this operation. So you have the command and control structure. We established burial teams. Burial teams were supposed to come, pick up a body, and go bury that body. Because I tell you something, dealing with Ebola-related case, you must be very methodic. Let me tell you about Ebola. Ebola is not a bacteria. You don't deal with it with antibiotics. It's a virus. It doesn't have a vaccine. Ebola by itself, if it sits here, within 3 days, it'll die. If you apply sunlight to it, it'll die even quicker. Chlorine, it'll die even quicker. Ebola needs to be inside of you for it to survive. And once you contact Ebola, it comes inside of you, it's fighting against your antibodies, your white blood cells. It goes in there and fights them. Once it's able to overpower them, it goes in and messes up with your organs. You start feeling extremely feverish and you get a high fever, extremely high fever. Then you get a headache. Then you get some very serious pains in your body. You're going down. You start vomiting. You start throwing up. Then blood start coming out of all of your openings. And you're far gone. So when you die, the Ebola dies with you. So when you have a dead body, the Ebola gets to a point where it's hungry because now it has nothing to feed on. So it's shaking, it's jumping. Oh my God, I have nothing to eat now. Oh my, what am I doing? Oh, the minute you come close to that body and you touch it, it jumps into you. And wow, my God, reprieve. Whoa, life starts all over again. Ebola, 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 Ebola. That's how it works. I'm being very dramatic because I want you to understand how it works. So if everyone in Sierra Leone could just pause, just hang right there, pause, right where you're sitting,
right where you just pause, just sit there and do nothing. Don't touch anybody, just stay there. Knowing that the incubation period, the time it takes for Ebola to manifest itself is between 2 and 21 days, depends on your system, your system's ability to fight it. Some people have a weak system. Within 2 days, it'll knock you down. Others have a very strong system. It'll take up to 21 days, but 21 days, it'll knock you down. Ebola will kill you in 21 days, no doubt about it. I don't give a damn what kind of immune system you have. So if you could just pause for 21 days, after 21 days, those with Ebola will fall down and die. The rest of us will walk away. We'll be free from Ebola. Is it possible to sustain someone for 21 days to stand there like that? That's the problem. And that is why the suggestion came about a lockdown for 21 days. And the president said, we cannot do that. For us to lock this country down for 21 days means I must be able to provide the basic necessities.
It's true.
I can't do it. If I cannot get the results I'm looking for, I can't lock the country down. There's no way I can sustain you for 21 days. You'll have to touch, you have to eat. Do I have food to give everybody? No. So we decided, based on the recommendation of the WHO and other partners, to have a 3-day stay at home. 3-day stay at home, September 18th, 19th, and 20th. And the objective was to be able to go in there, talk to the people of Sierra Leone, visit 100% of the homes in all of Sierra Leone, talk to them, give them copious information about Ebola, the risks that are associated with Ebola. How do I identify signs and symptoms of Ebola? How do I call 117? What do I do if someone is sick in the house? How do I say, okay, I identify just one person that will take care of that person, move that person to just one room? How do I practice barrier nursing where I'm not touching the person anymore, but in the absence of proper PPEs, personal protective equipment, how can I just use plastic and make sure I protect myself? All of that. How do I encourage hand washing? All of that was discussed. And out of that 3 days, the results was phenomenal. 130 bodies from Freetown alone came out. Boom. Sick people were able to come out because they're not scared anymore. They came out. And they showed themselves that we're sick. So it helped. It helped. The government of Sierra Leone initially had to put out 49.9 billion. Mathematicians figured that out. Give me that in dollars. It'll make sense in dollars. Because when I tell you, we talk big in Sierra Leone, we talk billions. Give me that. Divided by 5. Say 50 billion. If you divide that by 5, what's that, about 100 million? Think about 100 million. So as a country, 100 million. No. Got to be more than 10 billion. Yeah, sounds more like it. We had to put that much money out, okay, to be able to buy ambulances. They did not have ambulances. We have very few ambulances. Because of the exigency of the issue, we had to quickly send a team to Dubai to get 20 ambulances that were airlifted and brought to Sierra Leone very quickly. Subsequently, we had to buy 18 more. So it was a lot of strain on the government to be able to deal with this unprecedented disease that came upon us. It was difficult. It was tough. It was tough. As I speak to you now, the economic impact is adverse. I got time? Question answer. Okay, I'll just talk for 3 more minutes and we will do. Is that okay? All right. I hope you'll bear with us. Right. This is important. So it was difficult. It was extremely difficult for us. My birthday is November 17th, and I was invited by BBC World News. If you guys, well, you're all Americans, you look at CNN, but all over the world they look at BBC. I happen to be on BBC on the 17th at 9 o'clock in the morning. They asked me. They said, Mr. Jallow, you come, we're going to pick you up. I said, okay, but we have a few questions to ask you. I said, what are those questions? Have you been to Sierra Leone in the last 21 days? I said, yes. So we don't have a problem. Have you been close to someone that has Ebola? I said, no. Okay, we'll get back to you. The radio guys called back again and said, Mr. Jallo, we got another question. Have you been taking care of someone? I said, I don't take care of nobody. I'm the Deputy Government Spokesman. I speak for the government. I don't take care of anybody. Okay, we'll get back to you. He called again and said, it's taking a little longer to get the health department to clear you up. So you mind doing this on Skype or at phone? I said, sure, let's do it. However, my point is to get the word out. I don't care if you have one person, if you have two person. Anybody's important. The bottom line, you get the word out. They will in turn get that word out. That's what's important. So, however, we did the interview over the phone. This was the radio people. Now, on Monday, which was my birthday, this was a Friday. Monday, which was my birthday, the telephone, the TV people called. And I guess they've gone to Google, they've Googled my name, they looked at my profile, and they heard me, and they kind of like this guy. So, we like this guy. So, so they called and they said, you have to answer some questions, some test questions, some health questions. Have you lived in Sierra Leone within the last 21 days? I said, yes. Guy said, I don't think so. You sure you've been in Sierra Leone the last 21? I said, yes. No, you sure? Then I got it. That he's trying to say no. I say no. I said, okay, no. Good. Good. Well, hold on a second. And I spoke to the health guy. Health guy asked the question. I said, no. Oh, very well. We'll send a cab to pick you up. In an hour, I had a cab in front of my door, a chauffeur. They drove me down to the BBC. I went to the BBC, and one of the questions that came up was the economic impact. And I told the BBC, I said, listen, British Airways has isolated us. They were the first to pull out. We didn't expect that. The British are in our country now, 750 strong. But the British Airways pulled out. It's not like I can't come to London. I'm here. I'm in England now. I can come via Morocco. I can come via Brussels. So what are you stopping? And there were quite a lot of people on that flight when I came. So you're not stopping anything. You're making life difficult for us. We need medicines, okay? We need investors to come in. When you pull out, you're making that difficult for us. And then we talked about the economic impact. And I reiterate the fact that we need 1,500 beds. Taking care of Ebola in Sierra Leone cannot be done in a piecemeal fashion. You got to do it unprecedentedly. You got to do it with a big bang. You got to come with all your might once and for all. It can't be done in a piecemeal fashion. The beds got to be there. The laboratories got to be there. The PPEs got to be there. The trained medics got to be there. So after we discussed everything, we talked about the slow economic growth, the rising domestic prices, the increased fiscal deficit, increased financial instability, increased balance of payments, financing gap, the depreciation of the local currency. All of that is making life extremely difficult in our country. The mining companies have scaled down their operation, or some of them are locked up. They're gone. Planes are not coming in. Expatriates are gone. Before now, we had mining companies bringing in a whole lot of dollars into the country to engage in investments. Those dollars are no longer there. Because they're not there, you have scarcity in the dollar goes up. For now, we paid $435,000 to $1. Now it's $510. It cost me $25 million to get $5,000. What does that mean? That means your domestic prices are going to go up.
Right, inflation.
Okay, children are not going to school anymore because the schools have been closed. No school and colleges because you don't want the children to get together and congregate. All of that has been a problem. Okay, having said that, I think I'll stop thus far. There's a lot of information that I can give out here, but I think I did the best I can, and I'm quite sure most of it will come out through the question and answer session.
Thank you, Mr. Jallo. I think we have a few minutes here because of time constraint. Our councilors here have been very generous with entertaining us here due to the minor delay and interruption. So I really, really want to thank you guys for your patience. And we are almost wrapping up here. But I also want to take the opportunity to thank our community, those who are here and who are not here. And also for us to know that tomorrow, we also have another meeting. I think, Pavi, you want to say something about that meeting tomorrow?
Yes, it's
please come forward.
Sit down.
I have a question.
Thank you. My name is Pavi Jallo. Tomorrow there's an Ebola awareness meeting. Rutgers University starts at 1 p.m. It's open to the public. It's a 3-hour meeting. You'll have an opportunity to listen to Sierra Leonean experts, actually, who have a lot of knowledge in terms of the needs of the community, what we should expect if, for some reason, God forbid, a Sierra Leonean shows up here and has to be admitted, just so that we're fully aware that whatever happens, what steps the government has in place here, the processes that will be followed in terms of taking care of that individual, that they're not being discriminated against. It's just something that we must all expect. The hope is that this never happens, but we need to be prepared. Robert Wood Johnson University Hospital in New Brunswick is helping to sponsor this event. There will be food, so please come hungry. Again, it's a 3-hour meeting. Physicians, Sierra Leonean physicians, Robert Wood, as well as St. Peter's University Hospital in New Brunswick will be there. It's from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. So please be there. The information is readily available, and come with a lot of questions. So thank you.
And I also wanted to add that the Somerset County Health Director, Dr. Masaba, apparently got ill himself, so he was not able to make it yet.
Ebola?
No.
Oh.
He was not able to make it here. But before we start our question and answers, I want to recognize the efforts of our community. Kadike, can you please stand up? This Fadika. Sana, thank you. And you can see two ladies here on my left. Those ladies have been working very, very hard. I want you guys to really, really applaud them. Fanta, when we started the Ebola work, Ines did pretty good. Nobody was doing anything. And she took upon herself calling people to a meeting, doing whatever she takes. And we wind up in front of the steps of Newark. And we had our first breakthrough for people to know that Sierra Leoneans really have concern about what is happening back home. So please, Ines, we truly appreciate it. Of course, our Reverend, Honorable Minister, is always on the internet trying to educate people about what is going on. So I really want to thank you so much. And I have my beautiful wife over there, Patricia, and my mother. Right, so thank you so much to everybody. We don't have time, Mr. Jallo. The floor is all yours. You have 2 hours.
The floor is theirs.
Apparently, you have 2 hours, but you only have 15 minutes for questions. So I don't know. We're going to do take some few questions. It depends on Mr. Jallo.
Sure. So, is there another microphone? Oh, yes. Yeah, because of the late hour, we'll only be able to take a handful, but this has been incredibly informational. We're just waiting on another microphone. And while we're waiting, I just wanted to say, I know 6, 7, 8 weeks ago when we had the first press conference informational session of sorts, wonderful speakers, a lot of emotions, a lot of questions and passion in the audience. I feel like we've kind of come full circle to a degree because now we're getting not just an update, but we're getting a lot of the history, which puts things into perspective, both going back from May right up to the last couple of months, which obviously a lot has happened and a lot now has come full circle. Yeah, your description of events and resources and challenges was excellent. I mean, I feel very educated, as I'm sure most of the people in the audience do, and the people that this is going to reach. And in a way, I'm happy. I know we waited long. We started late and been here a while, but I feel like all this information is really putting things into perspective, obviously for the Sierra Leone community, but also for Americans that are interested and maybe don't have direct ties to Sierra Leone, but are very concerned about this crisis. And there is a bigger picture. And just want to mention, and we'll finish up with these questions, out of every bad situation, something good hopefully happens. And it was mentioned earlier, silver lining. As I'm sitting there, I'm thinking, well, as terrible as this all is, the government, from local towns to the national government in Sierra Leone, are now going to be so much more ready and better equipped and understanding the structure, which I don't want to rehash, but all of this is instrumental because unfortunately every country is going to have, whether it's a national disaster, whether it's a natural disaster, whether it's something like this, a medical issue, whatever it is, that they have to respond to. And the structure that maybe wasn't in place there, to no particular person or organization's fault, now is able to grow and be ready to deal with crises of any kind that hopefully will never come, but it's always a good feeling, of course, to know that you're better prepared for that. So I just wanted to point that out. So as terrible as this all is, the benefits that may come from this will hopefully be of value to the country for decades to come. That being said, we'll wrap up.
I just wanted to say, I mentioned issues at the schools. I'm the council liaison to the school board. During this weekend and Monday, I will be letting the proper authorities know this so they can handle that appropriately. It is as what people often say, it's a teaching opportunity, not just for the immediate situation, but for situations in general. Is that mic not working? The light's on. Right on that. Hold on 1 second with this.
Whilst we're trying to get them, did you say you have some flyers about an event?
Oh, yes.
Prayer services. Can you come forward, please? While you're coming forward, I want my Auntie Aisha and Auntie Jariu. Please, can you guys give them a round of applause, please? I actually have a whole host. Your names are all here to read, but since we butchered the program, I have to apologize also. And of course, we have, we might not see a lot of people because people have been going in and out of this place. Almami Toure is there, a strong community, Mr. Alfred Kuyate also. And we have the youths in the back. We have the Noslina organization. The chairman is here, Mr. Dr. Minkailu Jallo, please. And you have another Secretary General, Mr. Hadi Gavisi, please. Of course, Mr. Dauda Mansari, you heard from him before, right? Who else is here that is a stakeholder in organization? Can you wave for me over there? Hello there. Okay. So definitely, I will give the mic to the young lady over here.
Good evening. Thank you, Mr. Mansari. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and to the council members and our deputy informant here. Thank you guys so much. The flyer that you guys see going around, it's an Ebola prayer of action that is going to be taking place in December. The United Congress, African Congress that is based in New York, is working along with clergy members from both New York and New Jersey, so that way we could come together as a community, as a nation, to pray for our country. So this is going to be a service that's going to be taking place December 14th at the Holy Trinity Episcopal Church in South River. Most of us are familiar with it. The one thing that we take hoping is that, just as the Word of God tells us in the book of 2 Chronicles 7:14, God said in his word that if my people who are called by my name shall humble themselves and pray, and he will heal their land. And if there is any time we need healing, now is the time. God has done it before when we went through a 10-year civil war with the number of bloodshed that took place in that country. And we're going to cry out to him again for the second time there. Now, just like bullets, Ebola does not discriminate, like the Mr. Jello was saying. It can go for anyone, it can affect anyone. So it's a time for us to come together as a nation and join our nation of Sierra Leone in a time of prayer and cry out to God for him to send his healing. And the resources and the things that are needed, there's one person who has all the provision, and that's our Father in heaven. And he, if we believe in him, will make all those resources available to us. So please join us and help spread the word out to others. Please come out. It's going to be 4 p.m. and please, we're going to try to be on time. Amen. Thank you guys so much. As a healthcare provider, I would have definitely loved to go join, but unfortunately, American government will not let me go. So in the meantime, I'll do what I can here to help spread the word out that we need to come together. Thank you guys so much.
One more announcement and then we'll go to question. Thank you. Come on.
Very briefly, I just want everybody to know that I've been working with Congressman Donald Payne, 10th District, and we do have an Ebola task force that has been put together, and we've been meeting pretty much weekly. We're working on doing different things in Sierra Leone, Guinea, and Liberia, and he himself has also partnered with Rutgers, Essex County College, and NJIT. So there are things in the works, and regarding this bullying and racism and whatever you want to call it, discrimination that is going on with Ebola, one thing we want to say, which is one of the things we've been working on with this task force, is charity begins at home. We ourselves need to stop making the Ebola jokes on Facebook. We ourselves need to stop with the Ebola jokes at home, and then we can take it out there. Sensitization needs to begin in our community, and then we can take it onto the community out there. If we don't sensitize ourselves, there's no way we can sensitize the people out there. You have to know what you're talking about before you go out there to preach. So start with it at home. Like I said, charity begins at home. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Everybody knows that this township, for us who have been here for over a quarter of a century, have done very well. They've encouraged Sierra Leone as a community, and we have integrated into this community, and we are one big family. And I'm sure whatever is going on right now, we're going to get to the bottom of this as a community and come together and make sure our able council members here will help us to look into, just like how what Dr. Kramer said. So, the other mic. Okay, well, we're going to use this one mic and take you guys.
Okay, so does anybody have a particular question in the audience, and we can try to have the most appropriate person respond? Okay.
What we'll do is I'll take 5 questions, so just pass the mic around, and then I'll answer once. Then we'll go another round.
Okay. I got a question for.
No.
Yeah. The camera is not rotating.
Okay, my question is, I got a question for Mr. Bangura and then for Mr. Jallo. The first question I have for Mr. Abu Bangura was that, as he was saying that the shippers are not allowed to disembark, and also you don't allow any folks from Sierra Leone to go into the ship. So how do these people work? How are they going to do their jobs, if you don't allow them to come in and you don't allow this, to go in there? And the question that I have for you is that I heard on NPR that the World Bank leader, Dr. Ferrari announced that initially they said that Ebola was going to cost the West Africa or the rest of the Africa more than $10 billion. And then he announced that the effect that they thought was going to happen, it's not going to happen at all. So they degraded it. The effect on us is not as much as initially anticipated. So knowing that right now the economy of our country is down to almost nothing,
Has the government contacted this gentleman on this phone, talk to him, and ask him where did he get all this information? Please. Thank you.
Do you want to answer that first or get the other
question?
Okay, so quickly, let's get a couple more questions and then we'll have them answered all at the same time.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you to the Franklin Township. Because of time, this question is directly addressed to the Deputy Spokesman, Mr. Ajibujalo. I know you have done a lot in disseminating a lot of information, telling us all about the problems we have and all the challenges we have. But my question is a question of hope. The CDC do give us statistics as to how the amount of those people contracting the Ebola disease and the death statistics are coming up. But I will relay this question to you to tell us specifically, being on the ground and being the primary source, what hope do we have? These statistics that we have, have they peaked or are they continuing? We just want to have the scenario, what is going there. That's my question.
Okay, and another one here?
Yes, please. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Jallo, thank you very much for your explanation. I'm very grateful for that. My question is directly to you. From what I understand is our people is lack of knowledge. So my question is, what mechanism the government have put in place to educate the people about personal and environmental cleanliness? Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome, sir, Mr. Bangura and Mr. Jallo. This question is directed to you, Mr. Bangura. It's in connection with the shipping. As we are all here, getting things back there as we used to, has come to like a standstill. Stuff are not going and we're worried. The nation as well as our people that needed food. That's the main, I don't know how you're gonna explain this. Mr. Jallo, the next question is for you. As by educating the people about Ebola, I think the message I need to give you to send to our dear president in Sierra Leone is that we need more testing centers that will try to help us with the death rate. Because I understand that is the transmission is getting intense. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Mr. Jallo, this question is for you. I have a question. I have also a question to the councilman. Since our last press conference to this press conference, we, like Mr. Jallo and others have spoken here tonight, we have not seen much help from the international aid. And we are here working so hard as Sierra Leoneans in this country, contributing to this country. And our country is facing this disaster over there. And we are not getting much help over there. We want to know what the United States is doing. They are not doing enough. Our people are struggling on their own. Just take, for instance, the few 5 or 6 cases, if I'm correct, here, how the United States handled it. They didn't know either what to do. So can you compare that to West Africa, where we have, our people barely have nothing? Our heroes, who I call now my heroes, because they are struggling on their own. And just a little bit of education, information, and finances they have. Look how much. I'm so blessed to be here today because I'm so well informed and I'm proud of them. I'm a proud Sierra Leonean standing here. So that's the question I have. We need more aid. We need more help, as you know, Mr. Jallo has already said. My question to you, Mr. Jallo, as you were speaking, I don't know about money or any of these things. As a healthcare provider, where I'm coming from is education. I was so proud when you said the 3 days lockdown that they did was very successful. And I remember our first press conference, I spoke briefly on that because I made phone calls too, I heard about it. I was so impressed. I don't blame my people. I don't blame what's going on there. I feel like they are not well informed and they are not well educated on Ebola, like you've discussed here. My question is, if that was so productive, and people were well informed to the extent that they voluntarily came, because I know how my people can resist, like the examples that you gave. If they voluntarily came and everything, it was successful. Why haven't they continued doing that? Even if it's not a lockdown, like a way to go educate them, like to build educators around, you know, just like you did with the ones that go and do the swab. If Sierra Leone can do that, that's my question. Because I believe knowledge is power. If our people are empowered with the knowledge, together with what little they have, they can fight to eradicate Ebola. Thank you.
Last couple of questions. Put out, and then we'll get these answers flowing.
Hello, this question is for Ajibo. Ajibo, about the Ebola, because just like what Mr. Kanu was saying before, Mr. Kanu said that Sierra Leone would like to put things on Facebook, talking about the government, stuff that we don't know. And it's true. I'm not an APC, I'm not an SLPP. I'm just Mariama. But Ajibo, I just want to ask something about this Ebola. Because just like what you just said, some of us sometimes, we have the wrong information about the government. And for me, because I went to Sierra Leone like 2 years ago, I know APC is doing very well. I'm telling you, I'm not a politician. I know most of my families are all politicians like you, Ajibo. But I'm not a politician, but they're saying that the Ebola come from the government. People are saying, they're giving the wrong information here. I just want you to clear this about the government, that there's nothing, the government have anything to do with Ebola. Because people are saying that now APC bring Ebola. Now APC now they bring Ebola, because if you go on Facebook, it's there. You go on Twitter, it's there. You can say it about when they're talking about the president. The president now bring Ebola, now he do this, now he do that, and now he do this. I want to clear something about when it comes to Ebola. That's all I want, okay? We want to know the truth.
Good afternoon, everybody. This question basically for every person on the table. I just want to ask a question in regards to Mr. Ajibu's saying that the government needs 1,000 beds. So does the government have the finance, or the government doesn't have the finance to provide those beds? And also, why does our government depend so much on foreign aid? Thank you very much.
You can come back.
Take my question?
Anybody who'd like to put out a question, please, as quickly as possible, so they can group their thoughts and responses, and we can conclude. Okay, come on, you can come up.
Okay, just a few questions directed at Mr. Jallo. One of the questions is, why are we not utilizing people like Dr. Blyden, who was here just now? I know working with Congressman Donald Payne, he is utilizing microbiologists and virologists in our Ebola task force. Has the Sierra Leonean government utilized people like that? And if so, at what stage are we now with their progress? Second question is, what is our country doing regarding financing the testing, hospital beds, and everything, like the gentleman before me asked? Are we depending solely on the international community to fund these projects? And if we're saying that we need 1,500 beds, where are we getting the healthcare people to man these beds? And what are we planning to do when these people leave? What are we planning as a Sierra Leonean community or country to do once the international community has left us? And I believe you said something about constructive criticism. I'm all for that. Where do we make that happen? Because so far our country has not opened. I'm glad Mr. Bangura said something about communication boxes, suggestion boxes. Where can we go as a community to make those suggestions to our government? And how do we know that they are listening to us? Thank you.
Okay, please, the last.
Very quick and simple. Hi, good evening, everyone. My question is to anyone who could answer, Mr. Jallo especially. What is the government expecting from us as a community to do regarding the Ebola? How can we help?
Are there any last questions before we start the responses?
Hold on, because I might not be able to remember.
Okay, yes, I was going to say, I think there was more than we had anticipated, but why don't you like now respond to as many as possible? Okay, and I will just make a quick comment when you're done, relevant to the question about our government's involvement in hopeful health.
Okay. Thank you very much for the questions. It shows that we care about our country. We're determined, and I believe that perception becomes reality, and if you're determined, you will get there, you will win it. We will win the war on Ebola. We will win the war on Ebola. We definitely will win the war on Ebola. I told you in my presentation that Ebola came at a time when we were not prepared. We're only trying to get a grip on malaria, cholera, and things of that nature. We're not ready for anything this big. We didn't have the trained technicians. We didn't have the laboratories. We didn't have the treatment centers. We know nothing about Ebola. We did not even know how to detect Ebola. It came at us at a time when we're too small. Think about a big dump truck and a little rat. Where are you going to go? That's how we found ourselves when Ebola came. So we depend on the international community, those that have the wherewithal, the WHO, our UN partners. When we go to UN, when we sign up to treaties at the AU, when we support and defend actions of other countries at the United Nations Security Council, we're participating. We're expecting them to support us. Small as Sierra Leone is, when Haiti had a problem, we gave them $1 million. Small as Sierra Leone is, when Somalia had a problem, we sent a contingent over there. When Sudan had a problem, we sent a contingent over there to support them. Now, Sierra Leone has a problem. There's nobody coming to us. The president made a statement and he said, we will remember that. But today, better late than never, they're coming. What I'm saying effectively, we don't have the money, we don't have the wherewithal, we don't have the cash. We have to depend on the international community to help us in this one. When you talk about globalization, it shouldn't be economic globalization. It should also be globalization where health issues are concerned. The president said Ebola in Sierra Leone is Ebola everywhere. If you don't tackle Ebola in Sierra Leone before long, you'll have Ebola right here. It's a global security problem. We must tackle Ebola. What I say to the international community, come now, come ready, because we're going to finish Ebola. The question is, are we going to finish Ebola with 10,000 deaths, or can we go ahead and finish Ebola with just 2,000? Does the government have finance for bets? Like I said, the expectations are unprecedented. The amount of money we had was good, that we have a responsible government that had funds on the side to be able to purchase ambulances. We now have established treatment centers of our own. One of your own in this country, one of your own in this state, one of your own in this town. Madame Medina Rahman was made Minister, Deputy Minister of Health 2 in the Republic of Sierra Leone when the president reconfigured the Ministry of Health in an effort to make it more effective. Your mother is now a Minister of Government. A Minister of Government is a very high-ranking official. She's extremely important. But it's not about just being a minister, but she's the minister that everybody's talking about in Sierra Leone. Not minister when it is not minister. That's Medina for you. Medina has represented us effectively in Sierra Leone. If the president has not made a good choice, this is the best choice he's ever made. This is the best choice she's ever made. I'll tell you that for sure. Because she knows what she's doing, she's ready to do it, and she'll make you do it. Sierra Leone has established on their own a 100-bed facility, converting the police training school into a treatment center, 100-bed, which is ran 100% by Sierra Leone doctors, Sierra Leone nurses, and Medina, that's her baby. She's in the process of converting another 200-bed facility. That facility has now discharged upwards of 120 people. People that were considered to have Ebola, but now don't have Ebola. Mind you, Ebola cannot be cured. Ebola cannot be cured. There's no vaccine for Ebola. But if you start feeling signs and symptoms of Ebola, you're feeling feverish, you're feeling sick, and you hurry up and you rush to the health center, they can start administering supportive treatment. And they may be able to overcome the prevalence of the Ebola virus. They'll give you the ORS, they'll replace your body fluids, they'll give you good food, ensure and strengthen your immune system, and that'll pop Ebola back out. Medina and her people, her team, have discharged about 120 people that were Ebola affected. Today they have a certificate to say we don't have Ebola anymore. In a very short time she's been minister, she's made an impact. And that has a lot to do with New Jersey, has a lot to do with Somerset, has a lot to do with you, Sierra Leoneans, and Americans living among Sierra Leoneans here. You ought to be proud of yourself, my people. I'll tell you that. She's making an impact. Did the government bring Ebola? You know, the only foolish question is the one you don't ask. And I know you're not asking me the question, but you're telling me what others are saying. And that is why I thought it's imperative. And that is why Fode spoke with me and said, listen, while you're here, if even for 2 days, if even for half a day, let's have a meeting with the community. I don't care if there's one person there. I don't care if there's half a person there. It's important that we have a meeting with the community because there are misinformation, there are rumors, there are flagrant discussions, there are outlandish discussions, there are frivolous discussions, there are discordant information. That is foolishness. That is foolishness. If everybody is dead, what good is the government? What good is the government? When the president declared a state of emergency, that also saw the epicenters. What is called an epicenter? An area where there's a prevalence of Ebola. It's called an epicenter. Kenema and Kailahu was also quarantined. Quarantine meaning nobody can go in, nobody can come out. Today, they've been reporting a zero new cases. That's Kenema.
I'll give you guys a standing ovation.
Good.
I do.
They've been reporting zero new cases because they've learned from it. They've learned, they've understood what to do and what not to do. And where Ebola started, they're reporting zero cases. You know where Ebola is high? In the north. Where the ABC has its stronghold. Local. 30 a day, 40 a day, 50 a day. So that notion of Politican makes no sense. Because the stronghold of the APC is where you have the heaviest hit now. So it makes no sense. But why? Because of traditional beliefs. People believe that they have to wash their dead when they're dead. It's a ritual. It's part of their operation. We have to wash the dead. We have to pray on the dead. And I just told you about when Ebola virus is more active than ever. It's when a person is dead. And that is why we have, and this, as I speak here, I'm answering most of the questions. That is why we've now engaged in robust social mobilization. The president himself, as the minister plenipotentiary said, he was in Kono today. He's been in every single district, and he's going in every single district talking to the chiefs, talking to the traditional leaders, talking to the imams and the clergy, talking to the youth leaders that, hey, listen, these are your subjects. If these numbers continue to go up, I'll take your staff away from you. You're no longer a leader because you have to talk to your people. You have to tell them to stop eating bush meat. You have to tell them to stop touching each other. You have to tell them to stop washing the dead. You have to tell them to stop playing around with the sick. You have to tell them to stop doing the things that would promote the transmission of Ebola. The president is doing it himself. He's on the ground every day, going from town to town, talking to these people. So talking about deep social, robust mobilization, sensitization, it's happening. Today, the numbers are going up in Freetown and in Poloko. Why? The only explanation I have for that is because we did not have treatment centers before now. Now we have treatment centers. Carytown, the British have 80-bed facility, will be a 200-bed soon. Medina has a 100-bed facility in PTS. A 200-bed is coming up. Podloko, the Honorable Minister of Information and Communication, Alhaji Alpha Kano, has established a 100-bed facility. In Local Masama, he has an 80-bed facility. Ferry Dugu, there's an 80-bed facility. So there are treatment centers. There's a place to take the sick. So because you're taking the sick and they're reporting these cases, the numbers are going up. And also, all the backlogs that you have in terms of laboratories, the backlog, because you have Carytown that has the capacity to do twice the amount of blood work that we had to do, we were able to do in the whole country. You see all the backlog coming out. The numbers are going up. They're going to go up and they'll come down.
Yes, got your point.
They'll come down. Folks, hope is on the way. Yes, you have about 2,000 people that have died. I think 1,000 and somewhat that have died. You have over 4,000 that have contracted the Ebola, but the hope is the fact that we have over 1,000 people that have survived, had Ebola, and don't have Ebola anymore. That is because when they feel like they are feeling symptoms of Ebola, they're going to the health facility very quickly. Before now, they'll stay home. They go to the health facility when they're really sick, and they're really, really sick, and they can't help themselves anymore. They can't help you at that point. Can't help you at that point. The minute you feel sick, you take yourself to a health facility. Can't be shy, can't be afraid, can't be foolish. If you do that, survival rate is up. Why don't government engage in continuous social mobilization? If you are in Sierra Leone, you will find out that Sierra Leone and the sub-region, or maybe in Africa, is the most democratic country in terms of free speech. In national TV or national radio, you have Wayus, you have National Encounter, you have Your Say, you have Frank Talk, you have OGI. You can say anything and everything you want to say about the country on national TV all day long, and nobody will bother you. That's Sierra Leone for you. Free speech. You just don't do it. You just don't talk against the government during a state of emergency. We'll put you where you belong. You also have SLAJ, which is the Sierra Leone Association of Journalists. They have programs every day between 8 and 9, and it's Ebola sensitization, talking to epidemiologists, talking to doctors, talking to psychosocial professionals, and everything about Ebola every day. I have a program on 98.7 every Saturday. Started off on August the 4th when the president first declared a stay-at-home day. I went into the radio station at 8:30 in the morning. I spoke till 9 o'clock at night. Didn't move. 8 o'clock, 8:30 in the morning, I went into that station. I sat there till 9 o'clock at night. I sat there. I didn't go anywhere. I didn't eat. I didn't do anything. Subsequent to that, people of Sierra Leone say, we love your program. We enjoy you. Really and truly, you're making an impact. So I decided to have a program every Saturday. Starts at 11:30. I'm expected to get done at 12:30, but I go till about 5 sometimes. I enjoy it. Every Saturday. The only Saturday I've missed since August 4th will be this last Saturday. This Saturday, tomorrow Saturday, I might even do it from here. Good. I might even do it from here. I'll call in and I'll talk for 2 hours. My people, because they expected me. That's what we do. Time. Musicians. There's all kinds of music in Sierra Leone with regards to Ebola. All kinds of songs. Ebola day, Ebola, hey, Ebola, all kinds of stuff. So what I'm saying is the sensitization is so huge, it's so humongous. It's there. Plenty of them are there. Robust mobile sensitization we'll answer that. We need more testing centers. Yes, we do need more testing centers. We need a level 3 lab. It's not something you can just get. You have to have the trained technician, the trained logistician. You have to have the trained lab personnel. And just having the lab, level 3 lab, is highly specialized. Just can't get that like that. No, it's important. We can't have it. We don't have it. The British has helped us with one, and the South Africans. Mr. Hardy, question of hope. Well, I just talked to you about hope. The effect is not as anticipated as government asked about the misinformation. I think we'll answer that, and we'll answer PTS. I think most of the questions are there.
Do you have a quick last question? All right, come on up, because we really have to close this up, but it's something new. Let's see if we could address it.
Yeah, this is not just a question. I do believe in constructive criticism, but at the same time, constructive solution. I just lost 3 people in my family, 3 cousins. One is actually a nurse within 2 weeks. So my question is this: we just lost another doctor. What is the government doing about that? And I also brought up an idea where we're losing doctors. We over here ask people for donation, which is great. We also need ideas. We also need expertise. I brought up an idea where, how about we set up a telecommunication in every lab where we could ask doctors in here to just log in and give advice. I know we have a lot of nurses here, a lot of doctors in the United States. Nobody want to go back. Let's use this technology that we do have. As of now, we actually broadcasting out loud, live. How about we do the same thing to save lives? I don't think it costs that much. Thank you.
Okay, and this will be the last question, comment. If you have something, please come up quick, though. Go ahead.
Thank you very much, Councilman. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being here. My name is Alfred B. Kuyate. I have a simple question for the government representative. All right. My question is, when the current, the previous one, everything was calmed down, the death rate was calmed down in Freetown. Why was it now the death rate has rose again rapidly, and the number of death rate in Freetown is much more higher than the provinces? No. You have to explain the currently. The first currently, we experienced that the number of death rate was down dramatically. Everybody knows that now. But right now, the number of death rate has also increased. Why? You don't experience from the first quarantine that you do. Why you don't repeat the same thing when you see this number of death rate recently?
I got it. He's asking for another one.
Okay, the last
question. Okay, my name is Mamonica Bay. What is being done about, because now I'm hearing there's been a lot of increase in pregnancy due to people being at home and not going to school and things like that. Are people aware that you can pass Ebola through semen and sexual fluids, and that is one of the ways to pass Ebola? But now we're staying home and we're not going to school, not going to work, so we're having more intercourse and making more babies. So are they aware that this is another way of transmitting fluids and passing the Ebola virus?
Okay, so we're going to have the last few questions hopefully answered, and I'll make my colleague and I'll make some closing comments. The question directed towards us.
Thank you so much for entertaining us. With regards to schools, schools are closed because that's one way you can transmit Ebola. You want to keep people apart from themselves. Ebola is transmitted when you come in contact with a sick person that is actually showing body fluids, okay? Sweat, semen, like you said, spit, saliva, blood. If you come in contact with the body fluid of any sick person, that's a good way to have Ebola, okay? So you must practice safe sex. If We say in Freetown, even with your loved one, take a holiday. We say take a holiday. If you can't take a holiday, put a bag on. I'm sorry. Now, with those that had Ebola, but has now been found not to have Ebola, okay, it is understood that up to 3 months, your semen, okay, would have Ebola. So the advice is that please stay away from your wife, stay away from your girlfriend, significant other for at least 3 months, even after you've tested negative, okay? My friend, listen, as a government, we can make policies, we can talk to people. I can't go into your bedroom. I can't go into your bedroom, really. You really gotta take responsibility and understand. Right.
When they say body fluids, they're not aware that semen is part of that whole plethora. They think spit, they think
See
vomit,
that?
they think.
Someone asked, why don't we use Dr. Blyden and them? Like I said, we have a world organization, a UN partners there. They're helping us to address the situation. So all the help you can talk about, all the master sabi you can talk about is there, really and truly. The country's open. That's what we're doing. At the end of this, I want us to be able to come together and determine what we can do for Sierra Leone, however little. You, in collaboration with the SOMERSET officials here, determine what you can do. Someone asked, what can we do? We need PPEs, protective equipment. We need paraphernalias that will tell people, don't do this, don't do that. We need hospital equipment. Our healthcare is very vulnerable to the point where people are not going to the hospital anymore because they're scared of contracting Ebola when they go there. Our doctors will not come out. They will not come out because they don't want to treat nobody. Most of our hospitals are closed. Your private hospitals are shut down. The doctor don't want to play no games. The only hospitals you have running are the government hospitals. And what we are doing, once we're able to establish all the treatment centers, we're able to pull out all Ebola-related cases and bring them to the treatment centers, isolate them. So these hospitals, we can restore confidence in the hospitals so they can continue doing their normal thing, pregnant women, hypertension and whatnot and so on. It's a difficult situation, it's challenging, but we're doing the best we can. Young man over there asked about the fact that 3 of your people have died and what you can do. What is the government doing? The government is doing. Yes, that's right. What are we doing? We're making appeals. That's why I'm here, to be able to give you the facts as they are. So you can sit there now, you can analyze, you can rationalize, you can form the alliances and the collaboration you were able to, and be able to help out.
And also, it's not just that. So many, the biggest problem I see so far is ignoring young ideas. And some of what I brought up earlier, I brought it up since the start.
To who?
Everything that I've been through.
Well,
my question is, where can we get these ideas to? And somebody take it serious. Implement these ideas.
After, talk to me after the meeting.
Okay.
Okay, Deputy Government Spokesman. I speak for Sierra Leone and the President. Can't get higher than that.
In here, right now.
I don't know
In here right
if there's a,
I'll answer your question.
excuse me, I don't know if there's a particular email address for you or somebody else, but it sounds like in general, if there's a way that people can send, I'm assuming email is the fastest for most people out there, could send a question, because in all fairness, relevant to time and you have volumes of information, but I wouldn't expect you to be able to answer every single question. So if is there an email address that people can send to? Please spread that, put that out there, because it sounds to me like the government is very receptive.
He was just bluffing about his wife being beautiful. Where do I have that? You want to talk about pretty?
Anyway, if you can
but anyway,
give a website,
yeah, sure, I'll make that available.
Email, whatever, because it sounds like there's going to be questions that are coming, and understandably, they all can't be answered now, and that's something.
So contact 40. 40 will give you all the information you need.
I'm going to say some closing remarks, my colleague and I, and then if you have maybe you can come up with the best email / websites to put out to the public before we officially close.
Just a bit
So,
before we close down, there was a question that was asked by the gentleman, Mr. Bangura. I think there were questions that was. Did you forget?
Yes. He was asking about, you want to know about if we can have,
Yes, I understand. You're saying that if we had tremendous success on the first stay at home, why don't we continue doing that? And I am saying this is based on evidence and data. The WHO and all the international partners will advise us as to what next to do. To be able to lock down, you must be able to have an objective. You must say, I'm going to achieve this. And you must have the things in place to be able to achieve that. If you cannot achieve it, locking down makes no sense. The first lockdown was to be able to pass information. The next lockdown has to have an objective. And until you're clear and you're sure that you can achieve that objective, can't do it.
If you guys just give us 2 minutes, the councilman will say something and then we'll call it up for today. Just 2 minutes, please be patient.
Yeah, there was a question asked earlier directed towards us, Councilman Kramer, myself. So, yeah, I mean, not trying to be vague, but the truthful answer is we cannot do a lot on the local level. What we can do, and Councilman Kramer has gone out of his way, as I've tried to also help set up situations like this, which I think you'll find unique. I don't think this is going on in every town in the state. So we can help in that way. And the other way we could help is we have a new congresswoman, brand new, that was just elected that covers Franklin Township. So we usually work through, if there's issues, national issues that we need to go to our congressperson, we usually work through our local representative. And that is Bonnie Watson Coleman, who I think is being sworn in for the first of the year. So there's a little transition of leadership there, but what we can do is help facilitate communication from Representatives Fody or other representatives from the Sierra Leone national government or local community groups. We can help to facilitate communication, hopefully some answers with what would be our new congresswoman. That is our link to a federal government. I will say, and I think my colleague might have a couple details to add, that the U.S. government perhaps could have done or should have done a little more sooner. I'm not here to condone or condemn their efforts prior, but I do know, at least it's my feeling, that in the last several weeks, there has been significant aid sent. I believe some military personnel, some medical personnel, some other type of advisors, I believe have been or being sent, and along with some medical resources. I don't know if they're actually providing part of the 1,500 beds, but I'm happy that at least recently, it seems like our government has stepped up their efforts. And in general, this is a world issue. Not that the humanitarian hearts of Americans and other countries wouldn't help, even if it wasn't, but the simple fact is, it was mentioned here earlier, that we need to help Sierra Leone and neighboring countries get control of this situation. That's really what I'm seeing and understanding from everything I heard tonight. It's to get control of the situation. And then we'll be more safe on a global level. So I'm going to turn over to Councilman Kramer, who's also a medical doctor, and I know he's been following this closely and helped facilitate this tonight. But thank you to everyone out there, and hopefully the communication will flow.
Thank you, Councilman Vasanella. I want to tell you a story somewhat related to this about a woman named Mary Mellon. She lived from about 1880 to the late 1830s. You know her by a different name, Typhoid Mary. Now, typhoid is a different disease than Ebola. You can be a carrier, so you don't have symptoms, but you can pass on the disease. With Ebola, that's not true. So I just want to make that clear so as to not mix it up. What I want to tell you is the science is important. So Typhoid Mary was a carrier. She was quarantined on North Brother Island, which is less than 30 miles from here. It's an island off of Manhattan Island, because she was a carrier. Because if she prepared food, she was a chef, she would pass typhoid on to other people. What you don't know, you may have known that. What you don't know is there were several other people that were identified as carriers at the time, but they were not quarantined. Only she was quarantined. Why? In my opinion, because it made people feel good. The other people were still out there. I'm not saying they should have quarantined them or that they shouldn't have quarantined her, but what they should have done was follow the science. That's what we need to do, is follow the science. Quarantining people when they don't need to be quarantined doesn't help, and in the long run can hurt if it prevents people from going over to West Africa where they need to fight the fight. I am not passing judgment on what any elected official has done or hasn't done with that statement. My point is you need to follow the science. Ebola cannot be passed by water. Ebola is not passed in the air. Ebola is not passed by mosquitoes. You need to understand the science. And just because someone has been to Africa does not mean you should be afraid of them. People are being afraid of people who have been to places in Africa that is as far from here as San Francisco is. And that's just wrong. So all I can say is you need to follow the science. You need to believe in the science. And I'll sum it up with that.
Before we leave, let me just say a quick thank you. The coffee that you see outside was put out by Fanta here. Please, thank you so much, Fanta. And everybody chip in. The Reverend Kanu here, Minister Kanu, and where's Ishmael? Ishmael, the young man, you see the flyer that you see out in the internet, all the work with, yes, they did all those work, and those little expenses where the Reverend helped out on that one. And last but not the least, the cameraman. I want to say special thanks to you. Amjad, you've been great. You're doing so much work for the community. Thank you. If anybody wants to do wedding, he's here. And then also, Ishmael, you have a business called Natayo Printing and Signs, right? Netego, thank you. If you want to do t-shirts and other things, please say him. And my son over there, you all know, he works for a local television station here. He's also helping out. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you so much, Honorable Minister. And thank you to our councilman, Eddie and Mr. Ebi Bangura from Port. Thank you. And thank you to our government spokesman. Thank you to all. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.